Hear ye, and welcome to the Royal Geek Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Rollison, also known as T-Roll, and tonight I am joined by some very good friends of mine. First of all, we have, in the corner to my right, Justin Sandoval, a.k.a. Sandy, and his opponent for tonight in the opposing corner, the great Anthony Amato, who we like to call Shamato. And our special guest referee, a legit guest, Jordan Mosley, returning
What's up,
guest
everybody?
of the pod, friend of the pod. Welcome back, Jordan.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you picked a good episode to come on, man.
Oh, yeah.
Boys, we are here to have what I believe will be a pretty epic review of X-Men 97, the newest episode, episode 9, right?
That's right.
Yes.
Episode 9.
And it's called Tolerance is Extinction Part 2.
Yeah. Part 2.
Pretty epic. One thing I've been really enjoying about these X-Men episodes, they're all just consistently like 27 minutes of like action, you
Yeah.
know?
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
yeah,
like
yeah.
the rest is
They're all,
credits.
it's amped.
But it's
amped.
pretty just like it's just the same every or no, sorry, it's consistent is what I mean to say.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it. So I know what I'm getting when I turn this show on, which has
Yeah.
been really nice. Quality is what I'm getting.
Yeah,
It's
I
nice.
know y'all, like when you talked about like the half episode one,
Yeah.
I got worried. Like when I saw that, when like they split that one that way, but then since then it's
In
just
fairness,
been
that was
straight
early
fire.
in the season still.
Yeah.
So.
It
Episode
was.
4. Yeah.
Yeah.
But since then, straight fire. Like it's been
Oh,
great.
yeah. So
Yeah.
good. So good since then.
Yes. So big shout out to everybody who's tuning in. Thank you for listening. We want to remind you to please subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen and share this podcast with your friends. We are coming up. This is the penultimate episode. So next week is the finale. So we're coming up on the end of this review series or reviewing this series. And we need you to share this podcast with your friends. Any friends that you have that are Marvel buddies of yours, go ahead and share this pod. Helps us out tremendously. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or leave us a comment on YouTube. Wherever you check us out, interact with us. Be really helpful. Guys, you want to get into it? Anything you want to say spoiler-free before we jump into spoilers?
I mean, it was just a solid episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Top notch.
Yeah.
Let's get into the spoilers because there's a lot to talk about.
All right, so spoilers. Here's your warning. This episode picks up with just the ultra shame of Charles Xavier. Dude, nobody pulled any punches with Charles, bro.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I know, man.
He rolls over in his bed and there's nobody there with him.
Yeah.
It was
And
just sad.
the reach that he made for the pillow, like because he spent all this time with the Empress, she wasn't there, and nobody was around his bed or anything. So then he gets in. You expect him to get into his like yellow wheelchair because he's back at the mansion,
Yeah.
but no, he sees this little crickety, raggedy old wheelchair, and he
Well,
hops
just
into
the
that
fact that they did that, like, had him show him having to get into the wheelchair, because very rarely do you actually see him transition. It's usually he's in his mode of transportation, and I think that's a way they put him in his mode of transportation most of the time because they're trying to, kind of out of sight, out of mind type of way to where you don't see him have any weaknesses or anything like that. But I think very specifically, like we were saying, like they're just like hitting him hard right now. They wanted you to visually see him, have to get out of bed and get into the wheelchair himself.
the struggles.
Yes.
And his yellow wheelchair is just destroyed.
Oh yeah, that's right. Several scenes later, you see it just like
No, it's that scene.
Impaled.
Yeah, he's just like wiping it off and was like, oof.
yeah, he is. He's dusting it, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's like,
Yes. Oh man, he's like, I really could use this right now. Can somebody push me, please? Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
Poor
I
Charles.
was intrigued. I think early in the episode we get his interaction with Scott and Jean,
Yes.
Yes, we did.
and where Scott's just pissed.
Yeah, which this whole series, like, it's reignited my fandom for Cyclops.
Yeah.
Like Cyclops,
Yeah.
he's badass now. Like he was in the past, like when I was a child, but when he grew up and I was washed, my brain was washed with these stupid live action.
Yeah.
like James Marsden.
Yeah, James Marsden.
The sins of the 20th century universe.
Exactly.
You know?
Yes. And so Cyclops, he's a dude, man. He is that he's a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know, I feel like there was like this moment of like, in this conversation that he's having, he reminds me of a lot of like literary characters where you have these supposedly great men who like try to justify away their inadequacies in a lot of ways. Like, I mean, you can say it about, like when you really dive into like, let's say like a book series like Harry Potter, like what Dumbledore was asking like an 11-year-old to do. Like, or, like just like there's a lot of like, there's series where you're like, they're putting people into situations and like then they try to justify things and things like that. And I feel that's kind of what Charles was doing in this moment. Like this, like
You're right. That's a good point.
person who's supposed to be like protecting them and taking care of them, and he just like he kind of abandoned them in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, Scott even said, like, what was your goal here? And he said, well, it was to let Magnus take over and you can go live your life. And he said, but I would have been right back here because of the mistakes and the events that are occurring right now. And I would have been just right back here. So why?
And could he not just like have left that little part like in a note? Like, like if that was his intention, like why didn't he just I hate
in the
in
will.
shows when like little things like that just get left out. It's
Yeah, like,
super easy.
go live your life and then let him deal with this.
Hey,
No explanation.
Did they ever explain how he's alive?
Who's that? Xavier?
Yeah.
No, they didn't.
They have yet to do that. Yes.
Yeah. I was just thinking, like, they never explained that. And
It's currently a big plot hole.
even
right
the even the president was like,
now. Why are you here?
he's like, you left. You think I'd trust you, and you just bailed. And
Yeah. Well, because initially when they brought him back, like I initially thought they were kind of going at he actually did die, but like somehow got like transported or something like that, like across the universe. But now they're making it really like, and I thought the whole idea of, they faked their leader's death was, just, media playing with something, Bastion toying with things to the point to where like to make the X-Men look worse when he does come back. But it's looking more and more like that's actually what happened, which seems like a really bad idea.
Yeah.
yeah. All this fight I've been having, I'm kind of tired. I'm just gonna leave, and you know what? The guy I've been fighting for all this time, I'm just gonna let him take over.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Fake my own death. But I mean, to some extent, again, I would argue that early in the season, it felt like Magneto was a changed man.
It did. It really did.
It really did.
And his actions kind of proved it at times. They really did.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess with somebody who is so far on one end of the spectrum, when you attempt to make a change, the Genosha which was a horrific event.
a terrorist attack.
That'll definitely break.
Yeah.
It was
that
literally a
camel's back
terrorist
there.
attack.
Yeah, and that'll snap you right back into.
Yeah. I think it's kind of like the idea. Like, I think he was like trying to make that effort, and he was trying to change. But it is like when you see that effort fail miserably in his mind. That's because that's the thing. How he thinks of Genosha. All that failed miserably in his mind. You fall back on what you know. Like you fall back to your base tendencies. Like even if you're trying to be above and you're trying to be better, when something that horrific happens, you're going to fall back on your old habits.
He probably felt stupid too.
Probably.
I mean, if I was him, I would have felt
That's a great
stupid.
point.
I'd be like,
I wouldn't be surprised.
yeah, like I was legit trying to change, and then like it was all a ploy.
Yeah, he made a fool of me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
essentially. Yeah.
That's actually, you're right. Especially somebody with the personality of Magneto.
Yeah.
Like he was 100% like, this showed me that I was weak, and
Yes.
I am not weak. I am strong.
Like even to the point to where like I don't know, he feels like he is, although he's generally like against the X-Men, he feels like he is the true defender of mutants.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I think
yeah.
in that moment
Yeah.
where like he's telling that one mutant as he's protecting him that everything's gonna be okay, he felt like a hypocrite in that moment because he knew that he was lying to this person, and like generally lying isn't a part of what Magneto wants to do. Like he wants to be almost brutally honest, like in a lot of ways. Like I mean, like he'll make a plan and stuff like that that'll be him lying about something. But in general, like I feel like he wants to be essentially straightforward, brutally honest. He's going to be right there, just tell you exactly what he wants.
Yeah.
Which is one reason why he contrasts Xavier so well, because Xavier's more of a politician. Like he's trying to like, he's
Appease
trying
people,
to make people, and not necessarily in a bad way, but he's trying to pull strings. He's trying to get people on his side. He's trying to get people to see a certain way. And it's a more difficult way because, it's harder to get someone else to do something for you than to just do something yourself. Like there's that old adage, if you want something done right, you do it yourself. But like that's what Magneto wants to do. He wants to do it himself. But Xavier understands that sometimes you got to pull the strings to get other people to do things to get things done.
It's almost like Inception type thing. Like try to get them to do
Yes.
what he wants them to do, but think it's their idea.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like his superpower, Charles' superpower is not just like reading people's minds, but it's like literally like getting them to do the thing he wants.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's very interesting because it's almost like he literally can get into people's minds.
Yeah.
But then he has this like secondary
Ability.
like diplomatic ability
Yes.
that like does the same thing without him
Without using his powers.
And it's hard for him sometimes because he has to draw that line for himself.
Yeah.
That's where his like idea is because he knows that at any point he'd be like, hey, you do this.
Yeah.
But I think part of what he believes in himself is I need to get this person to do it because it's the right thing to do, not because I'm in their mind telling them it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think something that makes the Xavier Magneto kind of battle that they've had for so long is that they both, not only are they friends,
Yeah.
but they both, I think, genuinely understand from top to bottom the other's intentions and why they believe the things they believe, why they do the things they do. They almost can like, I get it, but I choose not to fight your way.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's essentially they have the same, when it boils down, goal. They want mutants to live their best life. That's essentially what it comes down to. They just have very different ways of wanting how they want it to get there.
Yeah. And I think, speaking again of Magneto, again, I felt like he really was a changed man for a short time in this season. A changed mutant, you might say.
Yeah.
And imagine what he's thinking. Not only the attack on Genosha, not only the terrorist attack of just obliterating thousands of mutants, but also like, oh, my best friend lied.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Manipulated me.
Manipulated me.
And that's like one of the biggest things about their relationship too is the idea. Like that's why he wears the helmet. He does not like the idea of that Xavier can get inside his mind. He does like that. That is a violation that he just like cannot stand.
Yeah.
And then of course, then there's the whole like he got essentially neutered for a little while when he was being captured by Bastion, which once again was making him feel weak. Like everything out of Magneto's like personality stems out of his time in Germany, where he feels like the idea of being weak is the worst thing in the world for him.
Yeah.
Like so, like in 3 successive actions against him, he felt it all within like a week. You starting with Genosha and like him trying to protect mutants but isn't able to, then being essentially neutered by Bastion, and then finally like finding out that your best friend who you mourned the death of,
Who you changed your whole worldview for.
You changed your whole worldview for, essentially played you.
And Rogue, like she chose Remy over that.
Yeah.
So,
That's
like,
before, yeah.
That, like, that's
true.
bad.
Yeah.
Like I'm usually like professionally and like personally, this man's just getting
Wait,
obliterated.
Wait, did he know that? Oh, yeah. That's right. Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
The dance. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, that's a good point, man. Oh my god.
Hey, but she comes around, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. She does come around.
Well,
One of the other early scenes that I liked was
Yeah.
when Bastion was carrying his mom. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
like this is a crazy scene because all
Zombie
the
mom.
all the Prime Sentinels are like
zombie sentinel
yeah, like,
mom.
yeah,
whose
they're-
tears were frozen on her or whatever.
Yeah.
they're frozen. They're all
Yeah.
frozen,
Yeah.
and he's just like carrying her through this crowd of frozen
Yes.
Primes, and he's crying. She's got tears on her, but like you kind of see Bastion as more than like a Sentinel or a bad guy there.
Yeah.
Like you can see like, okay, he went through some stuff. Like, and then even when he's like, when the mom's laying in the bed and he's like, it's so quiet. Like with Magneto knock out all the
it's
technology.
finally
he doesn't
quiet.
hear the electricity box down
Yes.
the corner of the street. Like he actually has
Like,
peace. Like it's strange.
It's a very like you do get some like little moments of Bastion in this where you're like you see some interesting things. Even like the whole later on when they bring up the whole fact that Xavier went to go see him at one point.
that was fascinating.
You know, and
Could have
just
been him on that picture. Like,
Yes,
that,
yes.
that
And
was
he
a
was
good
he was a
line,
top recruit for the School of Wonderful Children or whatever.
extraordinary. Yeah, but,
Extraordinary. Yes.
yeah. But I thought that was a really good scene, a really powerful scene.
Yeah. I'm trying to.
We get the Storm explanation, where she explains where the magnetism of Earth has failed, and
Yes.
therefore we only have 12 hours because when the sun rises, the magnetic pole of the Earth, whatever, is not going to protect them from the sun. Like that's basically.
I was going to ask you
Yeah.
what that was because they went over it like they're like
Yeah.
12 hours, like 1 hour. I was
yeah,
like,
it's because that's what protects Earth from the sun flares is
okay.
the magnetism of the Earth, and so like now that the Earth doesn't have it, when the sun rises in the
So
it's going to
does
completely
Magneto
obliterate.
just think that the strongest mutants will survive that?
Well, he took everyone to he took the people into space with the asteroid M. Like, remember he pulled it from the ocean and he like rose it up, and that's where he recruited Rogue. He was he's telling them like it's my way or the highway, right? And then he had the freaking asteroid M behind him with the Aurora Borealis, just like just flickering there. And Xavier is trying to convince everyone to like, we can fix this. It's okay. Rogue is like, I'm jumping ship. She gives. She's actually wearing Gambit's jacket and then takes it off because she knew that's something that Gambit would not have wanted to do. That's a pretty cool visual. But then, what's it? Sunspot, Jubilee's boy toy. Even he was like, my mom turned on me.
His
Why
name's
would I?
Sunspot?
Yeah.
I guess all the good names are taken.
But you know what though? When you look at him when he uses his powers, you're like, you kind of get it.
Oh yeah.
You know, like, but it's funny.
But he's like, my mom abandoned me and turned me into the Primes. Like,
Yeah, he's like, so I'm gonna kill so I want to be a part of murdering every.
so they all
human."
went on Asteroid M and like dipped. They left Earth so they wouldn't be affected. Like, that was crazy because I mean, Rogue, her whole speech right there was like, no, like this is. We meant to do better. I was there on Genosha. I saw the ramifications of humanity.
We didn't know the scale of the threat at the end of the last episode, right? I don't remember us talking about this last week, that they had 12 hours before the world ends. Like,
Yeah, they mentioned it was like towards the end, like it was like a life or death kind of thing, like declared war,
right.
that kind of thing.
The war
But,
typically means
there's a
long
winner and a
time.
loser.
Yeah.
Well, not just that. That there's like time.
Oh yeah.
yeah, and
And
then
Storm
there's-
laid out the ground.
Yes, yeah,
here.
because it didn't lay down like the time urgency nature of it. Yes,
In the last
in
episode.
the last
Yeah.
episode. Yeah, because it definitely just the way they kind of left it was like there would be a like physical hand to hand combat type of war rather than this is like earth ending like type of war.
Yeah, it's a very one-sided war because, like, oh, by the way, you got 12 hours to respond. Like,
Yeah.
it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, that's a time crunch for sure. Like, oof.
Yeah. That's pretty wild.
But then, so all the X-Men, they end up going to one of their like side bases, like
Is it Mir Island or something like that?
Yes, there you go, Mir Island, and they kind of regroup and get a game plan. They talk about breaking up into two teams, one that's going to stop and neutralize Bastion, and the other one that's going to get Magneto to reverse the magnetism.
Yes.
And we see cool costumes like they're changing into, which are from their second appearance. In some of them are from the Uncanny X-Men, which is Wolverine's costume, and some of them from their second appearance in the comic books.
Ooh, that Jean Grey.
Jean Grey, yeah, that was cool, and Cyclops.
Yes, they were both really cool.
yes.
So, question. How is so the two teams, they split up.
Yes.
So the team that goes to Bastion, how is he able to have any technology that's working? Did they explain that?
They
He's
said,
on
like,
his
I think they
island.
said like he's like a generator himself, because they were talking about like
Oh,
the
that's why-
Sentinels at the end. Like he's basically a generator.
Yeah.
So he's like
Yes.
making his own electricity.
Yes.
He's technokinetic.
That's why
think
he
so,
was
yeah.
in that one central place, and all the Sentinels are going out, and he
Yes.
was talking through them.
So
he
he
had
has
to
to- he
stay
has to stay there,
to
though.
generate them. Yeah.
Yes.
That's pretty good. That's
Yeah.
wild.
Lead to
stuff.
his downfall, maybe.
Yeah. So when we see that Bastion, we see Morph.
This was
Yes.
great.
Yeah, this was amazing.
Yeah.
That
he
was
turns into the Hulk, which
phenomenal.
is fantastic. Which he's now the second MCU appearance, right? With Captain America was the first one, and now Hulk.
Oh, and Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Spider-Man's right,
Spider-Man.
right. Talk. Yeah, we
Baron
get talking.
Zemo.
We get Morph Smash, right?
Yeah, it was
we get
Zemo.
Morph
That was
Smash.
pretty good.
Morph Smash was great.
Yes.
Yes, and so Jean's there, Morph's there. Who else is there? Beast. Yeah, right.
Yes.
And so they're all trying to get to Bastion, and I love how Morph tries to imitate Mr. Sinister to get
Yep.
through it, and Bastion's like, nope,
Yes.
I
Yes.
didn't detect
Yeah.
that. And now he has like control of
The way that he talked about it,
inhibitor.
too, he was like, Mrs. Sinister is too, like, it's too heartless, essentially, to ever think about another person.
That's true.
Yeah, like,
It's like
Yeah, but Jean and Sinister's battle, oh man, dude, it was
that was cool.
It was very epic, and you see towards the end of that battle, like Jean's overpowered. Like you don't know how. Like,
Okay.
it looks like she's getting blown away.
yeah.
I mean,
Essentially.
she used her powers to tell Scott
Yes,
goodbye.
you're right. Oh
So,
yeah.
I
So
think
she
she
is.
thinks she is about to lose it.
or is she? Or is she going to reborn as the Phoenix again?
Mm.
That's a
yeah,
possibility.
Yeah, I think that's
Well,
where
that'd be
it's
pretty
going.
cool.
Or it would be, I mean, it would be really cool if, like, we get a, like, mental connection
Yeah.
with Madeline Pryor, and they, like,
Oh,
kind
interesting.
of, like, almost like,
power each other.
sorry to bring up Harry Potter again, but you know how, like, when Harry's fighting Voldemort, he, like, all his, like, he gets the power of, you know, his family and, like, everyone to help him in it. Kind of like that. Like, they're working side by side, you know, and that maybe Jean Grey gets, you know, a boost from, like, a
like
Madeline
Star
Pryor.
Wars.
She
Right?
she brings
Right.
that up too, like at the beginning. She's like, she says something about like me and Madeline are fighting you today, or something like that, like
Oh, yeah,
something
yeah.
to
We're
that
with
effect.
You, we're with you. That kind
Yeah.
of thing, right?
Yeah.
That's a good point. If you pay attention to the scene, if you guys go back and watch it, while she's like kind of holding the energy, trying to keep herself alive for a few more minutes to talk to Scott, the music that's playing, it's more of like an orchestral music, right?
Yeah.
Which is very similar to when in the original X-Men animated series, the Phoenix, when she was the Phoenix, there was this more of this like orchestra playing,
Yeah.
and it was more of a it kind of like bellowed up to like this power, this big
Yeah.
bellowing like orchestra, like crescendo, like big powerful kind of stuff, and it was similar to that. So it was kind of alluding to the Phoenix
yeah,
return,
I mean, that would be really cool, too, yeah.
which I think would be really awesome to see in the next
So
episode.
with Cable here is Sinister. So Sinister's controlling him because of the things he did when he was a baby.
It looked like it looked like he had the little red dot on his head.
Yeah.
yeah.
but
I
it also
believe
feels
so,
like
yeah.
Cable is like, I don't want to say enjoying it, but he's like wanting to do this. Did you guys get that? Or
I think essentially what Mr. Sinister is doing is almost like channeling your wants into doing what he wants. So similar to like what Madeline Pryor was doing, like when he took over Madeline Pryor, like he was kind of like feeding into her own, like he's like, hey, you should do this because this is something you want to do. Like this is not because I'm telling you to do it. Once again, like Inception, like you're digging into
we
people's
basically
minds.
just watched Inception.
Yes, but you're using people's minds to like guide them in the direction towards your own wants.
Your end, yeah.
Yeah, because like Cable was just like, oh, you're not my mom, you know, and like,
Yeah.
like so he made
So-
her watch while they were fighting.
So
Just
it's
stood there.
Cable. Oh yeah, and he's we learned. Oh, I don't know if I learned. Maybe I don't know if you guys learned, but Cable's got some, some of his skills from his mom. What did what was that line he said? It was a pretty dope line.
I don't remember the line, but it had to do with like being telekinetic, right?
Yeah,
Or-
yeah. And it's
He's
like,
like-
that doesn't leave you or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. That
So
was
it-
pretty sick. It was kind of like a checkmate with his mom. Like
yeah,
everything.
and she was like she was shook.
Yeah. Oof.
Okay, so let's connect the two teams real quick, because while all this is happening with Bastion and the Galapagos Islands, the other team's up on the asteroid, and Wolverine is able to. I'm skipping ahead a little bit. There was some more dialogue we're missing here, but
Which what Well, before you jump ahead, you mentioned the dialogue. The writing in this is phenomenal because the line from Charles to Magneto while they're up there on the asteroid, where he says all this talk about ruling the world, it's you that's letting the world rule you and make you this bitter man. Like,
Yeah.
that's insane.
Do you have the line in front of you that he spoke about the boy he promised to protect, and then he watched his eyes melt into his skull?
No, I don't have that line on
Holy
there, but
smokes.
yeah, that's wild.
Yeah,
That's
Magneto
wild.
saying that.
Oh,
And
my
that was the
goodness.
last moment where he was still embracing the Charles, peacekeeper mentality.
Right.
And I think I feel almost that wasn't the thing. There's a lot of feathers that broke that, or a lot of straws that broke that back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
But so anyways, just getting to the action.
Yes.
Wolverine's able to pry off the helmet. Big deal.
Yeah, it's a huge
Big
deal.
deal.
Yeah.
Because now Charles can have his way, and he does. And it looks like Charles is about to use. He even says, like, you left me no choice.
Yep.
He has to use his powers now.
Yes.
But then we see Cyclops.
Yeah, this is huge. This was huge, man.
Cyclops uses his eye power.
Yeah, I think that's what it's called, eye power.
Eye
Yeah,
power.
his magic eyes.
Eye lasers to kind of to fend Charles off. So, and he said the other team needs more time.
Yes.
So explain this again, like
Because Jean's talking to him.
yeah, I know that,
Yeah.
but because if they don't stop Bastion, and
Well, yeah, 'cause the thing is, like, if Magneto turns everything back on, Bastion now
Bastion's-
has full control
and
over
the
all
Sentinels are
technology.
going to go crazy
Yes.
again.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they need
That's
to
the reason.
neutralize Bastion.
Yes.
Dang, so just bad timing.
Yes.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, it was just one of those moments where it's just like it didn't time up quite right.
That sucks.
For sure. And yeah, so that was some really crazy stuff happening in there too. So like, and you finally like, Wolverine gets the edge for a moment.
Yeah.
On Magneto for once.
And I was like, whoa.
I mean, he the blood that was dripping from his claw.
Dude, that was
as he-
awesome.
Yeah, it was. It
That was
really-
awesome.
That was super cool.
And
Cool
I
shot.
mean, for a moment there, you're like, what is happening right now? Like, Wolverine just made his kill move, right? And
And he called that earlier, like in the
Yes,
episode.
that's
He was
right.
like, I'm gonna stab him.
yeah, he's like, I have no choice, and he does the
Yeah.
sink, and then there's a moment of like a brief moment where Charles does not have control over because of Cyclops.
Yes.
And Magneto's like, this feud is over, and then this goes to the end of the episode, and Magneto goes full power and removes the adamantium.
Oh my gosh.
From
Essentially
Wolverine.
spaghettifies
Yeah.
like Wolverine. Like
Yeah.
And
insane.
that's the last thing we see of this episode.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. It
that
was
whole
incredible.
scene was awesome.
Yes.
Did not see that coming.
And that scene is like straight out of the comic books. Like in the Uncanny. I think it's like the second issue of Fatal Attraction, I believe is what it is. But it looked wild and trippy and incredible. And that was like, you're gonna leave the episode on that? Like, come on.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw like something on I think
That
on
can't feel
Twitter
good.
with like the side by side of that. from
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And it was like the sound that was like written on the side of the comic was like
yeah.
shleek or something like that. It's like I didn't know that's the kind of sound that like
Shleek?
your body makes when it's just being ripped apart.
Yeah. And the adamantium was just being sucked
Yes.
out of you.
Yeah.
Man. That's
But it's
just-
not going to kill him.
Not even
right?
It's not even sucked. It's torn. Like
Yeah.
I think sucked makes it seem too pleasant for what it actually was.
It would have killed him, but he has regenerative ability, and so therefore the only thing keeping him alive is his powers. So
Yeah.
Of course.
yeah.
So are we gonna
in
get-
the comic books? I'll tell you
Yeah.
this: I don't think we're gonna get this in the animated series, but
Okay.
in the comic books, he does recover from that, but he becomes more of like a feral version of himself because
Yeah.
he's all like twisted and mangled. And he's like more of this like ferocious beast, and he's got the bone claws and everything.
bone
but,
claws, yeah.
But yeah, it's different. It's very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder how he's going to recover from that.
Yeah,
Makes
it's
you
gonna be
wonder,
interesting.
like, couldn't Magneto have just done that whenever he wanted, though?
He could have, but I think he was showing mercy at
some
at
extent.
times. Yeah, to some
Yeah,
extent.
because I've always wondered, like, dude, Magneto could just rip Wolverine apart.
Right, correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
You really could.
yeah, I mean, I love Wolverine. He's like my goat, but it's kind of like, dude, like, that's like your weakness. He can move metal, bro. Like, what do you
Yeah.
want, you know?
Oh,
So,
yeah,
But
absolutely.
I mean, when you have all these heroes, like you kind of the one that can do what Wolverine does, and you can stop him at any time you want. Like, and they're part of their team. You stop that person, that's easy.
Yeah.
Like, for him, Wolverine is a piece
Not
of
a
cake.
threat. Yeah,
He
that's
is,
true.
Yes. Like, it is. He's not a threat to him. Like, he
Yeah.
doesn't see him as anything more than just...
He doesn't sleep with his
Yes.
helmet on because of Wolverine.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah.
Which is so funny. Okay. All right. Anything else in this episode before we have some speculation?
Man, no, it was a fun episode.
Anything
Yes.
else we're missing?
I'm sure we are. I'm sure
Yeah.
we're
Probably.
missing a lot.
I was reading some stuff today with like the intro, like the opening.
Oh,
Did you
yeah,
see
yeah.
that with
I
like
did see
the Prime Sentinels like
Yeah.
at the end of it? I thought that was pretty cool. And
Storm was reintroduced. Since
Yeah,
being
with-
gone from
Yep.
episode 2, I think. It
with the
was.
different costume, and
Yep.
then I was reading. I'd never heard of this, but was it Pride of X-Men? Did you see
Oh,
it?
the
with-
original like
It
pilot.
was like like the one episode. So like they were talking about like that's where all the costumes came from, and like the brown suit Wolverine. All this was so cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And there were some like a lot of Easter eggs in the background, like when they were in their the island castle or whatever. Like the vehicles in the background, you'll see one of Wolverine's motorcycles is back there.
Yeah.
Like and there's like a whole toy series about it. Then back in the like early '90s. It was like a yellow and red or brownish, whatever the heck color you want to call his costume. And the motorcycle had claws going on the front wheels. It was
That's
pretty
pretty
cool.
cool.
And you can see that in the background there. It was pretty cool.
That's sick. All right, so let's kind of get a head count. So Wolverine is currently being torn apart.
Yes, correct.
Charles has been knocked out of his little.
He's wearing the helmet that's blocking his
Oh,
abilities.
dude!
because
Yes,
of
he is.
Magneto.
Let's talk about that. Were you guys worried that he was gonna like kill him there?
Honestly, yeah, he could have easily put the helmet on him and then crushed the
crush
helmet.
his-
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
yeah.
could have.
It
that would've
kind
been
of felt
cool.
like he was doing that, and then
Well, 'cause-
Wolverine stabbed him.
Yeah, Xavier was like he was screaming in pain and agony.
Yeah, I think he was doing
Yeah.
that, and then Wolverine. That's when Wolverine comes in, and dude, I mean, in that moment, I was like, oh my, I couldn't believe that. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so Cyclops is standing on his own 2 feet because he's the one who shot.
Yeah, he's still good. Yep.
yeah. All right, so
Nightcrawler's fine still too.
Yeah, where is Nightcrawler?
He's with the asteroid. He's on the asteroid because
why do I
he
know?
makes makes the run with Wolverine, and he's bamfing back and forth while
Yeah.
Magneto's throwing all the metals and stuff at him. So he's up there,
Okay.
Um,
Are there any limits to how far he can go?
as far as he can see.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so he can't just be like, I'm going to take you to another planet.
Cor-
Unless he can see it.
Yeah, he's got to see it. But that's why they were able to teleport onto the ship because there was like a window, and when the ship was approaching and then it got blown up or whatever, he saw the window and teleported everybody inside.
Okay, so Rogue and Sunspot, along with Jubilee,
Yes.
they're all up in the asteroid. Am I missing anyone that's on the asteroid?
I think that was everybody.
Yeah,
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so Morph is currently, we think, in the HQ of Bastion.
Yeah, as far as we know,
Morph and
Morph and
Beast.
Bastion and Beast are all going at it right now.
right now. Yeah.
Like, where was Storm and Forge?
Yeah, so they were like, okay, so they got shot out of the sky.
They're
yeah,
Oh, that's
okay,
right.
so,
That's right.
Like Bastion and them are all like
Bastion released
inside.
the Sentinels.
Yes,
the big
but
Sentinels.
and then Storm and Forge are kind of like
decoys.
they're fighting the actual Sentinels while Morph and
There you go.
everybody
That's
else is
right.
inside the
Which
base.
they did shoot down the jet, but I'm pretty sure Forge is fine in the water. Like he's good. He just jumped out into the water and he's
Yeah, hopefully.
I'm worried about Storm. It looks like she got hit with something.
Oh yeah. But
She
she's,
did.
She's fine.
Yeah, she's gonna come out with just a tsunami.
Which, an attribute to Storm's badassery.
Yeah.
when they are flying into battle, like they are all kind of. You can see that Jean and I forget who's flying the plane.
Forge.
Yeah,
Forge.
Forge.
Yeah, Jean and Forge. They're like holding onto the steering wheel. Cable and Morph are like in the back, like 'cause they're
Yeah.
going fast. And Storm, relaxed, calm, in the middle, legs crossed, not
Yeah.
worried about a thing. Like she Omega level threat.
Yes.
That's what it is. She is that much of an epic mutant where she doesn't have to worry
Yeah.
about that kind of little stuff.
The I think the quote between her and Jean Grey was really cool. I don't know if like you would know, but like if it was like a callback to something where she said something like minding the weather and then or weathering your mind.
Yes, yes,
Oh,
yes,
it was
yes.
something
That
like
was-
I
you're
just
right.
That was an
butchered that,
amazing
but
one.
That was a great
it was
line,
really
yes.
cool.
You mean you basically
Yes.
said it word
While
for
you're
word.
minding
Yeah.
while you're minding the weather, they'll be
Weathering your mind.
Yeah.
Yes, or I'll be
So
mothering
good.
their mind or something like that. Yes.
Yes, amazing. Which we're talking about amazing lines. When Scott gives Cable the blue and yellow uniform, he's like, "What is it? A circus or something?" And then Cyclops does an ode to the 2000 movies where he's like, "What'd you expect? Black leather?"
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you remember in the original like the 2000 movies, Wolverine's like, what are we wearing? He's like, and then Cyclops says, "What'd you expect? Yellow spandex?" That's what he says
Yes.
in the live action movie. That's so incredible. That they were able
Yeah.
to do that in the series.
Yeah.
Gotta love that.
But yeah, we can go speculation for sure.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, what else? What else do you think is going to happen here?
I have a feeling that Sunspot's going to make a sacrifice play. I think I think the fact that like the potential like negative outcome is related to the sun. He's named Sunspot. He made a switch from the good side to the bad side. He just got introduced in this season. Like I think all those things kind of
Interesting.
point
That's
at
very
like the
interesting.
idea that like he may make a turn on Magneto and like make a sacrifice play of some sort.
Interesting that you start there. I mean, I can get behind that and see that happening. As far as like saving the overall like world, but I do think overall like big menacing bad guy, right? I don't think it's Bastion anymore. I think that the comic books have taught us anything. This animated series has laid down the groundwork for Charles Xavier has went into Magneto's mind and has completely like took him over for a minute, right? But then Magneto flipped the script on him and causing Xavier to have this like anger towards Magneto, right?
Yep.
And so what does that lead to? In the comic books, they create a being called Onslaught, which is basically Magneto like armor type stuff, right? But it's Magneto's body, right? But it's Charles Xavier and Magneto's evil intentions have formed a sentient personality.
Yeah.
And now it's Charles's evil and Magneto's evil are now in a body called Onslaught, and this is the villain now. I think
That's a much better name than Sunspot.
Yeah.
Like I mean, Onslaught, that sounds awesome.
Onslaught is
And there's
amazing.
like, did
name.
you say Sunspot? Like, no, shut up, kid.
No, it's Onslaught. Yeah. So yeah, Onslaught. We will get. I think we will get Onslaught in this next episode, and that is going to be what they're going to have to try to.
If they get that, does that mean Charles and Magneto are both dead? Does that,
No, it doesn't. It just means that the evilness inside of Charles
Manifests
manifested into a whole entire thing.
a whole body, mutant soul, everything.
Yeah. Well, in the comic books, they kind of use Magneto's body as like the vessel.
That's what I mean. So does that mean he's dead?
He's still
Because
in
why
there.
would,
He's
yeah,
still
why
in
would you
there.
use Xavier's body?
Right.
I think it's
Exactly.
more
Yeah.
Barely
I think
get
it's
out of
more
bed.
like you're like trapped in your own mind type of thing.
Yes, that's what it is. Like Xavier, I mean, Magneto's kind of trapped in a state of like suspension. But
It's fascinating.
yeah, it is fascinating, and I know T-Roll probably you don't know what Onslaught looks like but this is how intimidating Onslaught looks like. I'm showing T-Roll a picture now.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
It's pretty incredible.
Nice, dude.
So that's what I believe the end game is here for this final episode is trying to combat Onslaught.
That would be super cool. The only issue I would have is that seems like a lot to get done in a single episode with Bastion
Well, that's the
still.
thing. If there's a season 2, which I believe there's chirping now that there is going to be another season to this.
Hope so.
What if
They're gonna
Onslaught
have
is
to.
going to be the end game to set up for that next
See,
season?
now I'd be all right with like they settle everything and like the very like last scene is like the character of Onslaught like kind of emerging.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a cool. I think it would be a little bit of a disservice to what has been built up and the possibility of what Onslaught could be to throw all of that into one episode. Now, like I said, if
I
you want to
agree
like
with that, yeah.
if you want to end it with like a cliffhanger of Onslaught exists after they've kind of like, especially if it's after like, okay, we can take a deep breath. We've like neutralized the Magneto threat, especially because like, okay, so what if they think they've neutralized the Magneto threat because, you know, like it's his good intentions, but or like back on the table because his evil intentions have kind of been pushed to the side to this melding of Onslaught, you know, and then, you know, Bastion's kind of taken care of. And you're like, everyone's like, oh, okay, deep breath. We're good. And then that last scene's like, your heart drops. And it's like,
Yeah.
you just
There's
like.
a new evil, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Man.
All right, boys. Any other last thoughts before we wrap this up?
No, I was going to say definitely you mentioned earlier Dark Phoenix.
Yeah.
Like I think that's for sure.
That's true.
Um,
Great point. I'm glad you brought that back up.
Yeah, I also think I don't know if it's the director or whoever it is. Like I know I've texted with you about a few of them, but like they keep leaving like little Easter eggs,
what
spoilers.
to watch. Yeah, what to watch.
Yeah, which I really enjoyed because like I haven't, you know, I didn't watch the full one as a kid. So like going back and watching episodes to know like, oh, like why does this make sense? How does this fit into the story? You see the one that he put out for next week?
Yeah.
Star Trek, right? I'm not a Star Trek guy.
I'm not a Star Trek guy either. But he said if you want a hint of what's coming in episode 10, watch this Star Trek episode.
Okay. Was it from the original series?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was. Yeah.
It was like a
Cause and effect.
like a Groundhog's Day
Yes,
type thing. I think.
Gotcha.
Oh, boy.
Correct.
So
Which he got kicked off the show. So his name is Bo DeMeo.
Okay.
He was the control power of this series, but he got kicked off like literally the day before it premiered. Like they said he's fired and he's not a part of it anymore, like that kind of thing.
Oh.
But
I've seen his picture and
yeah,
like,
yeah.
what happened to this guy?
that's why
that
he's
makes
been
sense.
kind of leading the fans as he goes
Oh.
because he's not associated with it anymore. That kind of thing.
That's pretty smart.
Yeah.
I don't blame him
like
then.
that.
That's good.
Yeah.
So yeah, Star Trek Cause and Effect episode. That's the hint for episode.
Okay.
10.
Yep.
Yep.
I may watch that.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
That's cool. All right, boys. Well, Jordan, appreciate you being with us.
Yeah,
man.
thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely,
Appreciate it.
dude. Nice to have you back. We'll get you back on again sometime.
Yeah.
Big shout out to everybody who has stuck around for the whole pod. We appreciate you. Be sure to come back next week for the epic conclusion of this series. Well, hopefully not the series, but at least this season. Episode 10. We will review it next week. Yep, that's me yawning because I'm tired, and we're going to cut this podcast off. So, with that in mind, for my good friends Sandy Shamato and our boy Jordan Mosley, this is T-Roll saying thank you so much for listening to the Royal Geek Podcast. We will see you next time.